Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 2K Drones live stream. We are back. It's been a few weeks since we've been off air. As always, I am joined by my buddy Chuck.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Keith was on holiday. He was celebrating his 5th wedding anniversary, and
that was the excuse I used. But I was really flying the heck out of the FPV drone.
No, you weren't. You don't say.
Right. As you might know by our thumbnail, it's no big surprise that we have some special guests today. So first off, we will bring our resident newsman in, Mr. Henry Robotic. Good morning, Henry.
Hey, good morning, Henry.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
And I can't quite believe I'm going to say this, but hello, Mr. Billy Carr.
How you doing?
It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Of course.
It's an absolute pleasure. And first off, congratulations on 100,000 subs.
Yeah, it finally came. You know, it's been 5 years in the making.
Well, that's and that's actually,
you deserve it. Congrats.
Thanks.
Seriously, like Keith and I were talking before the show, and we're like, we have so many questions for Billy. Can we have to ask you questions?
That's fine.
So,
yeah, let's do it.
Like a little mini interview, maybe.
Yeah.
Totally. Go on, Chuck.
No, Keith, go ahead, man. It's all good.
I was going to say, I bought I think I've been watching your channel since I got my Spark, and I'm trying to work out when that was, because it's been a few years now. I think it's about 4 years.
The Spark was such a great little drone.
That was like June of 17 when it came out. Because
I was still filming videos in my mom's bedroom, or my bedroom at my mom's house with the.
I remember because you had your Phantom, then didn't you get a Mavic Pro? And I remember you got because you went to the Mavic 2 Pro launch, didn't you? In New York.
I remember I went to the Spark event as well in New York, and I was just totally out of place. That was the first one I went to, and I was like still a sophomore in college. I didn't know what I was doing, but that was a lot of fun. And when I first got that Mavic Pro, I got a dud. The right half of my camera was totally broken, but the Spark was so great. And I guess now the Spark has really been replaced with the Mavic Mini, but I always liked how each drone had like its own identity, you know, like Spark, Mavic Air, Mavic Pro, and now they're just kind of all sharing the same design.
I do agree. I know what you mean by that, because when I love the Mavic 2, but there was something about the original Mavic Pro that I don't know what it is.
Camera rotated the portrait mode. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that was so cool.
Imagine using it now for shorts, for like YouTube shorts. You could just actually get 4K. Like,
I mean, the design of the camera made it perfect. But yeah, I really thought that was a cool feature that really no other drone has simulated. I mean, if you want to shoot vertical photos, you can do like a vertical pano, but then you've got like a really wide field of view, so it's not the same.
Yeah, it was cool, but I think they dropped it because nobody really made use of it, or very few made use of it. I know I'm guilty. I only tried it a couple of times, and
I made a video solely dedicated about that because it's kind of like a hidden feature, and people were just lighting me up, like, don't shoot vertical video, shoot horizontal video.
So what was your first drone? The Phantom 2?
Phantom 4.
Phantom 4.
the original Phantom 4, which they then spun off into, Phantom 4 Standard, Phantom 4 Pro. And I remember, God, this was back, I got the drone in 2016, and I think early 2017, I made a video about, my Phantom 5 wish list, like what would I like in a Phantom 5? And here we are, 2021, still waiting for another Phantom drone.
I got shot down for that because I'm kind of intrigued by the Phantom 5 as well, because I don't know. There's something about the Phantom, isn't there? There is.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the shape or what, but there is something about it.
Is it coincidental? What's the word I'm looking for? It's like when you think of a drone like a box of Kleenex. You think of a drone, you think of the Phantom, the shape of the Phantom, and everything.
I mean, you look at like logos that people use of drones, like the Drone Zone, stuff like that. It just has that shape of a Phantom drone with the landing gear, the bigger body, and the motors. I mean, you think of drone, you think of that design. And I feel like maybe it's kind of shift towards Mavic now. Like you think of drone, you think of something that's foldable. But if you look at DJI's lineup, there's this huge gap in between Inspire and Mavic, right? Like it's a lot to go from a foldable Mavic to this huge Inspire. So I think that they've really got to do some work on their higher level offerings, because they haven't been touched since 2016, 2017.
Yeah, I mean, it's iconic. Everybody knows that drone shape. It's like, like Chuck said, it's like the Kleenex of drones. It's like
it's just what you
everybody
think of.
knows what it is.
My logo for my channel is based on that. It's like I turned the Phantom into a K and made it red and kind of like shifted it. It's like
and
everybody knows.
They could totally sell it. Like that's everybody knows that it's a good drone. Everybody recognizes it. It's just it's kind of like a Apple and the iPhone. Everybody knows the iPhone, right? And it almost becomes a selling point of its own. Like people are going to buy it because they know it's good. It's iconic. It's an iconic.
But I think
drone.
it's kind of lost its place in the architecture.
A little bit, yeah.
There's the market's moved, so it's like, okay, you have the Inspires and you have the Matrices above it, but now you have the Mavic line. I'm actually waiting for like the Mavic Pro, whatever the next Mavic is, to have a mechanical shutter. If you have a mechanical shutter on it, then if you can change the cameras.
I'd love even more than just a mechanical shutter. I mean, I hope that they do a whole lot more. I mean, I look at what the Evo delivers in so many different regards with the longer battery life, all of the sensors, and I hope that they kind of go down that route, but kind of add their, DJI touch where they just kind of blow you away and come out with something that you think that you don't even need. But with the Phantom, their whole style has kind of been like make something and then make it smaller and then make it smaller, right? That's why we've got this iteration from now all the way down to the Mini with OcuSync 2 and whatever. So I feel like what they can do is they can come out with a really badass Phantom, right? That just like totally blows everybody away and then try to work down that list again, right? So almost starting over. I mean, they could come out, think about what they did with the Mavic 2 Pro and think about what they could do with even more space on a Phantom. Like they could just make it so great.
Look at all the power they packed into the FPV drone. I think it's
right?
amazing. And the Mini too, with OcuSync 2 packed in there. Yeah, you're right.
I couldn't believe it had OcuSync 2.
That's what I because we did a live stream when they launched it, and I was saying it's not going to have OcuSync 2. It's just it's just like it's too small, and then it was just like we watched the launch video, and I was just staring at it, going, okay, they put OcuSync 2 on it.
It's not even the size, it's just like the fact it's at the lower end tier of their lineup, and you think, they just put Wi-Fi in it because it's their less expensive drone to sell. And really, the Mavic Mini, the original one, had pretty good Wi-Fi. It held up for me relatively well considering the price of the drone, but they really just dropped some heat and put OcuSync inside that drone. I was really surprised.
Yeah.
What are some of these comments we're getting? We're getting lots of comments, Keith.
Yes, I know.
We've blown them up with the Phantom. There's definitely a binary response to Phantom.
Our friend Mike Miller said the Phantom is still a flip phone.
Yeah, it's still kind of old, but it's still great. I mean,
I don't know. I don't see the Phantom coming back. I see the Mavic maybe growing more like an Evo 2 in size and then having more functionality. So it's still sort of compact, because the whole thing, like for me, I was going to ask Billy like what his favorite drone was. Yeah, Billy, what's your favorite drone? Because mine was the Phantom. Mine started with the Mavic Pro. That's what got me into the whole hobby, was the foldable.
I mean, right now it's the Mavic 2 Pro. It's so dependable. It's so reliable. Exactly. It's got such a great camera. I mean, I was actually flying the Evo the other day, And I made my comparison video on it. I like what Autel's done with that drone, but it just doesn't fly like the Mavic does. It's not as precise. And I keep coming back to that point. Like, you know, if you're going to spend all of this money on a drone, you want a drone that's a great flyer. And the Evo is just, it feels clunky. It feels a little bit, you know, rough on the sticks. It's, you know, when you try to make those little precise movements, like when you're rotating, pitching the gimbal down, it's just, it feels very rough. And some of that could come with more flying and a little bit more experience of understanding how the drone operates, because each drone kind of does its own thing. But when you're coming from flying like the Mavic, which is like the Lamborghini, and you fly, you know, an Autel, which kind of feels like a Chevy almost, you know, you can feel that difference in the flight characteristics. So yeah, Mavic 2 Pro is by far my favorite drone.
I've heard, I haven't flown the Autel, and I know Mike Miller actually has one, but I've heard that you can't dial in the settings on the sticks like you can on the Mavics, where you can soften the sticks and you get that better precision like you're talking about, not just pinching the sticks, but
to a certain extent. You know, the Evo does have the expo settings, EXP settings. I mean, almost all drones have those. But even if you go further into looking at what like the Mavic Air 2 offers and the Mini 2 offers within the Fly app, they've even gone a step further now, giving you the option to choose like the sensitivity of the yaw, the sensitivity of the roll. So you get a lot more customization, I think, within the Fly app. And that's why I'm at like a crossroads right now, because when the Fly app first came out, if you guys bought any of the drones that first used the Fly app, it was a nightmare. Like it was so minimal. There was no features at all, but they've really built it out. So I'm at this point where like I almost like the Fly app better than the Go app. It feels newer, it feels fresher. I think that it has more features. So that's why, like, even though I like the Mavic 2 Pro, I can't believe I'm saying it. I kind of wish it ran on that Fly app with the newer features they've added.
The only thing that bugged me about the Fly app was that I don't find it as logically laid out as the Go 4 app was. It was like when I got my Air 2, I was desperately trying to find Pano because I wanted to take a Pano. I was like, where is it? And I mean, I had to resort to Googling my phone because I didn't realize that you could scroll up. I mean, maybe I was having a senior moment, but that well, I'm in my 40s now. You look younger than I do. I like the Fly app, and I'm getting more used to it. And I have to say that I don't have the Mavic 2 Pro, and I'm debating whether I change the camera over on my drone because I've got the zoom now. And now that I've got the Air 2, and the Air 2 is just miles better in than the zoom, in my opinion. I'm thinking I might go back to the Pro camera because I really want that camera. I do.
Yeah, you know, the one thing that I've noticed with the zoom, I tell you what, I still use the zoom for things because I like that optical zoom. And if in the future they can combine like optical zoom with a big sensor, I mean, that's like a no-brainer. That's an immediate winner right there, because
home run.
You're kind of like choosing now whether you want that zoom or you want the better camera. And the thing that I immediately noticed, because I was using the zoom to work with this guy who really wanted to get up close on this building, and I thought, well, why not bring the zoom? Because, you know, you can fly from further away, zoom in, and you get a nice crisp image. But when I was shooting photos of it, the dynamic range is just not as good as the Mavic 2 Pro, or not as good as the Mavic Air 2 for that matter. So it kind of is like that weird, like, I guess, standout in their lineup where it's like the only benefit you get from this drone is zoom. Like if you want a drone that can optically zoom, you go with that, but you really are not getting the best drone all around. I mean, the Mavic Air 2, which goes for $800, is better.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I didn't even take my Zoom 2 away with me this time around. I took the Air 2, and it was just, it did everything I needed it to. It held up really well in the wind. I mean, okay, we don't quite get the winds that you guys have had in the last few days, but
gale force winds in the forecast. Yeah. I haven't seen that in Syracuse like forever.
It holds up well. I'm really impressed with the Air 2, and I'm also marginally annoyed because now that there's this FCC filing of the Air 2, I literally bought this drone a month ago.
It's a great segue, Keith. Great segue, man.
Yeah, great segue there.
And but before I do segue into that, because I just wanted to say hi to Bill in the chat, and Bill just asked me to ask Billy about the Phantom backpack. Does that make any sense, or is he just talking about the sheer size of the thing? Because I've got a bag that can carry a Phantom drone, and it's huge.
I have one that was made by Polar Pro, which wasn't too horrible. But now that I look back at it, right, like in the backpack that I use, I can carry everything. Extra cords. I can carry my camera. I can carry my laptop. I can carry my iPad. I can carry all this stuff. I use the Peak Design, and
which one?
The Peak Design 30 liter.
Right.
And then from there, I went and I bought the Polar Pro backpack for the Phantom 4, and it works great, but it's all you can carry is the Phantom 4. I mean, you might be able to fit a couple of extras in there, but like if you fly the Phantom and you bring that with you on a trip, you're pretty dedicated to flying because it takes up one full backpack. It's kind of a pain.
I think he's implying that so you might have no.
Yeah, okay. So when I was up in Michigan and I was snowmobiling, and obviously I wanted this to be a really badass story that I fell off the snowmobile, broke my arm, broke my backpack, but I was just getting off the snowmobile. I slipped and fell on my back. I had the Phantom on my back in the backpack, and it landed, right? So all my force is on top of that. And luckily, the only thing that broke was the leg, but the antennas are in the legs. So that's a big problem. Yeah. So, I sent it away to get fixed. It worked, but it's just, after you fly the Mavic, it's so solid when it flies. And I feel like the Phantom is like a little bit floaty. Speaking of backpacks, one sec, I want to show you guys something.
All right. The Phantom 3, I was actually, when you mentioned floaty with the Phantom, I had a Phantom 3 standard for a short period of time after I had a Mavic Pro Flyaway. My Mavic Pro Flyaway is an early pilot.
No way.
Inspired me to buy, way. And it came back, but I mean, it was one of those, had to change my shorts afterwards, but because like it kind of seriously, it was like I was like my 8th or 9th flight with the thing. I was just trying to catch a sunset. The thing it went into Addy mode. I think I didn't do the compass right or something. Just started going over into the
oh my god
next neighborhood over.
I remember when I first got the Mavic coming from the Phantom, I was blown away at the power they packed inside of that drone. And I so thoroughly remember the one video that I made. I was just telling people, because you remember the wait for that drone was unreal. You place an order and they'd be like, yeah, you're not going to get it for 6 months. Because it was so delayed. So, I made a video and I was like, look, if you've got a pre-order in this drone, just keep it because it's worth it. Like I remember being blown away by that drone. And then ever since then, I mean, with every single drone, they improved their flight software. Like the Mini 2, I was like, this flies better than my Mavic 2 Pro. It's just it's unreal how they keep doing it. So speaking of backpacks, I got a buddy who actually coincidentally lives in my area, and he reached out to me not knowing he lived in my area, but we were talking and he lives like 15 minutes away from me. So him and his buddies created this backpack, and I'm not trying to plug anything here, but it's called Boost Pack, right? And it's actually got a built-in battery inside, so you can charge your drones off of the battery inside.
Can you get the FPV in there?
You could. I mean, so here's the thing: is like, and this is kind of the pain point of it. It's designed like a school backpack, right? You can like put like stuff like that inside of here, but it's not like a camera or a drone backpack. And I think that they're working on something that's similar to that, but it's got 140 watt hour battery.
Check that out.
Check this out. So up here, you've got 2 AC outlets, and they're actually like, you can plug in just traditional like American outlet in here, but they're also ready for European outlets too. And on the side, it's got like 4 USB ports.
Look at that thing.
So this is just the inverter right here, and then the battery actually goes in the bottom down there. But I mean, you can charge 2 to 3 Mavic batteries off of just this battery alone that sits in the bottom of the backpack.
Check that out. Can that be carried on a plane? Because like that's I think that we're limited. Is it under 100? Was it 100 milliamp hours or something? I think.
Yeah, it's 100 milliamp hours or 1,000.
Okay, 1,000. Yeah.
Let's
Something
see.
like that.
Wait.
No, that's not right either.
10,000.
Yes. Okay.
10,000.
Yeah,
we don't have zeros at the end. We'll get there eventually.
The capacity of this is 9,600. So this is safe to take on a plane.
Yeah.
And it's a beefy battery. I mean, this thing is pretty big, so
it's like an old laptop battery. That thing's huge.
I know, right? It's pretty beefy, but that's something that I'm trying to make the transition over to, because carrying around extra power is huge for drone pilots. It's like
yeah. Well, I was just my brief mention on the Phantom standard, though, the 3 standard. That thing did float around kind of funny. I sold that pretty quick. I only kept it like a month and I sold it.
Those Phantom bags are making a comeback because people are putting their FPV drones in there with the props on it, and it holds them. Because one thing about the FPV drone is having to take the damn props every time.
Like, I don't know if I want them like kind of.
I kept my propellers on in the beginning, and I threw it inside of a Husky toolbox. That was what I just used in the beginning. And
I remember that video.
So that was my last video. I got the GPC case. I've been using that. And I don't miss not keeping the props on because my props got all dented and banged up by keeping them inside of the bag. So I'd rather just keep them fresh in their own separate spot.
Yeah.
I know that people love that though. They love being able to keep their props on inside their bag or inside of their their case, because you just pull it out and you just take off. But there is that extra component setup required with the FPV, with the goggles and stuff. I feel like it takes, substantially longer than just putting a Mavic and just going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, did you try to put your FPV drone in your Peak Design bag? Because I tried and I gave up after about 5 minutes. I've only got 25.
Keith asked because he's a sucker for Peak Design. He got me to get the tripod like he has, but I have the carbon fiber one. He did.
The tripod's epic.
Okay, I bought the carbon fiber tripod too recently. I don't even use it for YouTube. I use it for real estate photography, and it's unreal how light that tripod is. I mean, it's.
They are. I'll give Peak Design one thing. I love the tripod. I've got the aluminium one because if I told my wife that I'd spent that kind of money on a tripod, she'd kill me.
My wife bought mine for me, Keith.
Yeah, well, my wife thinks this chair cost half of what it did. But I'll give Peak Design their dues. When I think we've mentioned I went away recently, and when I got there, I took my tripod out, and one of the little sort of tabs that you use to clip the, move it into flat mode, that snapped off in the case. Now I messaged Cove Action. They told messaged Cove Action. I messaged Peak Design. Yeah, I told you. I messaged Peak Design, and they told me just file a warranty. They've sent me a new leg, entire new leg. Didn't even argue about it.
Their warranty is so great. I've been using their 20-liter backpack since about 2017, and my backpack was 1.5 years old, and just the top zipper broke, which, it was annoying when it was raining because I had like all my stuff in there, but just the top zipper broke, and I filed a warranty claim. They sent me a brand new bag, 100% brand new. I got it in the mail. I sent them my bag. No questions asked. And that's why I'm okay with spending the extra money on a company that has such great warranty, because I know that I'm going to be covered if I use this. If I break it, it's like, all right, well, look, it's covered.
The way they dealt with it. I mean, I was annoyed when I found it, but the way they dealt with it, I've never experienced service like it. They're brilliant. They're worth the money.
Funny enough, DJI is the worst about that.
And I've experienced the worst with them. Unfortunately, I think it's just their culture. But I've had really good experience with Epson with the Moverio glasses. I had issues with those when they were new, and I reached out to those guys. And the trickiest part was getting a hold of the guys in California, because even when you call up the phone, you get like India or Japan or something. And then the minute you get them cleared up with what you're asking about, which is the Moverio Epson glasses, they bounce you to the guys in California, and then it was nice. They sent me a whole new set. I had a piece break on them, on the nose piece, on the BT 300s. They sent me a whole set and didn't even want the other ones back. It's just like kept everything.
Really? Some guy at Florida Drone Meetup was flying with that, and they look really cool.
They're really fun. Yeah.
I'm all about speed and getting the drone in the air, and I just don't know if I'd take the extra time to put those on my head,
They slow you down. These things slow you down.
Yeah, but I think a great concept.
I want to talk about the Air 2S, but the one you talking about, those Moverio glasses, I think they would help you flying, because some of the stuff that I've done with the FPV drone, and I'll play a little video in a minute just to show it off, but I find that when I've got the glasses there, I fly a lot better. When I've got it in my head with the FPV, I can fly through those tight grab. I couldn't do that with a Mavic Air 2 because of the perspective. And I think those glasses would help you fly like your Mavic 2 and your Mavic 2
better. Yeah. And they're not as immersive, because even though you put the shade on, like I have the polarized shade, that helps, but they're not as immersive as the goggles. But then again, you don't have the really super wide field of vision either. But it's a nice compromise for flying a camera drone, because it's like a heads up display. It's going to be out. It's out in front of you, so you can still If you dim the image enough and you can see through the image, you can still see your drone. So you're legit, even though
that's that's really nice. I mean, I don't know how they expect you to keep visual line of sight at every single second when you have to look down at your phone and your screen for, really important data.
Yeah. But they are a little awkward because they're a wired device. So then you have to.
Yeah. If they were wireless, obviously it would increase latency, but that would be better.
Yeah. If they were wireless, it'd be great. I mean, I have the module that allows me to plug them right into the smart controller. I use one USB-C cable, goes into a box.
Okay. Yeah,
from the box that goes to the glasses cable, so it's only basically it's one long cable with a box in the middle. Well, in fact, it's this thing right here. If I can get it off without breaking my connection, if we go dead, you'll know why. I was using it with my computer. Hold on, I gotta unplug everything. This thing right here.
Oh, that's
you plug everything into the top here, basically.
Gotcha.
So your USB-C goes from the smart controller to this box, and then the big controller, the big plug there is what goes to the glasses. So that works better. And then,
I mean, I would say the best way that this could end up happening is if DJI came out with their own like spin-off, and then they made it, wireless without using two. I mean, you think about the FT Aviator.
It's a good concept, but it kind of failed. In fact, there was spaghetti coming off of it, basically.
Yeah, great concept, but with the motion controller, it's just like, this isn't much better.
Yeah, that's what they wanted to do, though. I think that's what they wanted. That's what the motion controller is.
This is actually a perfect segue because you're talking about the motion controller because this was something because I was on with me and Chuck were on a live stream on Coast to Coast's drone therapy live stream in the week, and we were trying to talk of things about what the Mavic 2 Air S, whatever the Air S or the 2S or whatever they're going to call it. But one of the things that suddenly occurred to me afterwards was I wonder if the motion controller is going to work with it, and I wonder if they're going to spin that motion controller out to work with all their drones. And what's more, because the goggles are OcuSync 3, will the goggles work with their entire fleet of drones? I'm just wondering if that's something, because I was trying to
maybe.
I mean, you think like that would really increase the sales on those products if you think, because not many people who fly Mavics would buy the FPV drone, and I think a lot of people that did probably return them, because if you look at it from like a GPS standpoint, it's just not a good GPS drone. It's a drone you've got to fly in manual. So why would they design one thing that's working with one ecosystem and not make it compatible with the whole?
I would slightly. I think you can get away with flying that drone in sports mode, and I've got a little video that I shot.
No,
but
I agree with that.
The motion controller, at first, because I watched your video, and it was a really good video, and I at first, when I first started using it, I thought this is just a gimmick. But I've used it again since, and I'm beginning to see what the thinking behind it is. Now, whether I fly the FPV drone in sports mode with that yet, I'm not sure. But I can definitely see it having a place to fly something like a Mavic 2 Air or a Mavic drone, because it's just logical. Yeah. I mean, it is logical.
Yeah. And the lower speed of the Mavic type drones is just more. It's a better application for the motion controller. I don't see how would you ever fly that with the motion in manual mode? This is a crash waiting to happen.
I don't think you can. I think it's only sport mode, right?
You can't put it in the manual.
There's no way.
I mean, even in sport mode, I just don't know. Like maybe it's just. I have to play with it.
I'll tell you what. So when I was first flying, I mean, it was shown right in my video, because I'd only probably used the motion controller like 5 or 6 times just messing around. But that was like in my video the first real like full flight that I had with the motion controller. And at first I was like, I don't know if this is going to be as precise. But by the end of the video, I was going up and over trees, trees right here, up and over trees.
I remember
skating along the what's it called? The train tracks. So you do get a lot of precision,
awesome,
but I think a lot of that precision comes from what type of drone. Video. Thank you.
Yes.
That comes from what type of drone the FPV drone is. Like, it's really precise, right? Like, think about being in the shoes of like your Mavic 2 Pro and using the motion controller. You just wouldn't get the same experience because it's a totally different drone, and it feels a little bit more floaty. The braking distance is not as as much as
not
the
as responsive as
FPV
the
drone.
FPV drones. Yeah.
It's not as responsive. It's not as agile when you're moving around. It can't stop on a dime, right? Even though it does have all these characteristics, but it certainly doesn't live up to what the FPV drone delivers. And then also think about the Mavic 2 Pro. When you're flying really fast in sport mode, that gimbal kicks right down. That's going to ruin any sort of FPV immersion that you get flying with goggles and motion controller. So whenever these different types of accessories have come out for like the Mavic, like those original DJI goggles, the big white ones.
Oh,
they were
yeah,
cool.
the cereal box on your
box.
face ones. Yeah.
I never heard it called that, but that's great. I just find that the best experience for me is just with the remote controller with those GPS drones. But I was pleasantly surprised with the motion controller and FPV drone. And I could see them opening it up to the rest of their lineup because then it just means more money.
Well, back
Well,
sorry,
they do have a habit of taking our money, don't they, DJI?
Yeah, they're good at taking money.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. I was there was actually a little bit of a fist fight between Epson and DJI. That's kind of why there was a point where the Mavic 2 series came out and you had the two remotes. Remember, the first remote was an RC1A, and the glasses worked just fine with that. Then DJI released the RC1B, and the glasses no longer worked. And that's because DJI was concerned, I think, that Epson was cutting into their business, right? They were cannibalizing the goggle sales with the glasses. So there's probably some stuff behind the scenes that got cooking between those two companies.
That's pretty interesting. I would say, too, that with the release of those goggles, that kind of, if it opens it up to the rest of the lineup, it almost kills two birds with one stone. Like now they don't have to come out with DJI goggles version 2, the big cereal box that you guys call it. They can just use their FPV goggles and call it a day.
Those FPV goggles, once you modify them slightly, because you have to
with new foam and
the strap.
And the fat strap is so awesome. I don't know if Billy, if you grabbed one yet, but man, I got that like straight off, and it's really, it even holds the battery. There's like a little holster for the battery.
I'm using the stock strap, and I don't have any complaints about it.
I don't quite like the overhead thing.
I don't like the reverse mohawk look that I get when I wear it.
I'm looking at myself and I'm editing my video. I'm like, look at myself. I got these like two things shooting up on the side.
Yeah, and I do too in my video too. When I flip first side, like you can see, like it's like these. I look like the pointy-haired boss in like Dilbert or something, kind of like.
I saw Ken's video and he recommended the because I'd already ordered the foam update because I knew about it from the V1 goggles. But I saw Ken's video and he recommended fat strap, and I have to say I'm really glad that I got one because the fat strap is just much more comfortable
we
for me.
The same I think it is.
Yeah, we did.
We're not alike at all.
But I like the fat strap. It makes it comfortable, and that foam upgrade kit, you need that foam upgrade kit. It's night and day difference in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean I put the goggles on with the old foam and it hurts. Like it's not comfortable at all. You need that new foam. It's a must buy. Yeah,
I've done it, and now I don't get any light leak. Once you sort of get the nose piece right, it's a bit of messing around with it, but they're much more comfortable now. I think we're going to get on to the subject of the FPV drone, but I just wanted to because I'm going to show off my video here because I'm a slightly dyspraxic, so at the moment I'm still really struggling with manual.
I was going to get into that for a second on the goggles. I was actually scared to death to fly with the goggles because I thought they were like from the cereal box ones. They always felt so like claustrophobic.
Yeah,
and maybe that's just because the Mavic's camera wasn't as wide angle. Because I put these on, and it seemed like it was like the only bad thing about them was like when you put them on, you're in the dark. You don't know where you're walking. You're going to trip over the tripod when I'm filming and stuff. That was the only bad part. But the vision was great.
I don't like that feeling of flying GPS drones with goggles on. It doesn't work. Yeah. FPV, totally different experience. I love it. I actually enjoy it, but I cannot put goggles on flying a Mavic. It won't work for me.
It's the camera then. It's the lack of that wide angle where you can you don't have enough peripheral. And I want a rear view camera on the next FPV. Darn it all! I want the little picture rear view camera.
I'm sure there's a third.
Hello, DJI. That's what this engineer wants.
A backup camera.
Yeah, so I can fly. Yeah, so I can fly. So I can. I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
I need the beeper, but yeah, seriously, be able to pull back and like.
And then just like those cars, they have like the lines and they turn with the wheels so that you know.
That's more than I'm asking for, but that'd be awesome. But yeah,
it
really would help.
DJI, they'd make it good like that, you know.
Well, right? The IMU knows which way it's going. It could just flip it on when you're like in reverse and just have like.
Hey, imagine that if it gave you, if it could understand your situational awareness, and if it could give you a track to follow in your own area. I mean, they do that within their own, virtual flight simulator. But imagine if you could create one in your own like area that you fly often. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
Now
we need Skydio to like join in with.
Yeah, damn.
I know.
Yeah, we should talk about Skydio in a little while. Actually,
yeah. Has anybody in here flown the Skydio, or does anybody have it?
No, but I'm super interested. The reason I did is because I wanted it to do more than just be autonomous. I wanted to have a remote control that was comfy and cozy.
I say this all the time. I think that the Skydio R1, like the $2,700 drone, was just a proof of concept, right? Nobody bought that drone, but I think they got like a ton of investment off of that drone. Like, hey, look at what we can do. Skydio 2, they recouped some of their investment money, right? They were able to make some money off of this drone, and obviously it was a lot more affordable. But I think Skydio 3 is going to be the one to get. Like, I think that drone is just going to blow away.
I think we're all waiting for that to be.
Well, Keith, you okay if we just segue into Skydio for a second? Because Billy, you've had a lot of experience with it, and I actually got on the pre-order in like batch 3 or something because I waited 2 days too long, and then I backed out. But Skydio, Forbes just said they're $1 billion company. They're like one of the unicorns, and like I know that's because they're tied in with the U.S. government, and they're going to do enterprise business, and that new drone looks pretty cool. But do you think we're going to still be willing to work with us as consumers and come out with an S3? Because they should. That would be epic. I think the 3rd generation will be a sweet spot because they'll have a better controller for it. That'll be and the autonomy is already there. It's already really, really good.
There's
room in the market. Sorry, I go on, Henry. You go first.
We're all fighting for time. It's awesome.
I personally, I think they're targeting a large market because, I mean, you look at like DJI drones and they almost fly themselves. I mean, we say they fly themselves compared to, FPV drones and that sort of stuff. And I think Skydio just takes a little bit further and it literally flies itself. Actually.
It really does. That's what's so amazing about it. And it's obstacle avoidance. DJI can't even come close yet. Maybe they have something up their sleeves, but
if they can make it film like good, if that
more cinematic, because I think that's
more cinematic.
They can work on that. That's what they need to work on to make it just a little bit more cinematic. Because right now it's like a GoPro. It's a flying GoPro that's intelligent, But I think that's what they were after with it anyway. Is the market? It's going to chase you when you're mountain biking and snowboarding and all that.
Exactly.
Didn't you crash? Didn't yours have an accident? I'm not going to say you crashed yours because it wasn't. You weren't flying it at the time. Didn't yours?
It got eaten by a pond or a lake or something, didn't it? And
so I'd crashed it a couple of times before that when it hit like a tree or something like that, like really at high speeds, and nothing came of it. It was still totally fine. But the other time, it just flew itself into the water. I
remember that video. I was like, that's one of the reasons. No, I'm not going to say that, but that was one of the things that had me concerned when I had my 3rd batch order, and I was like, do I really want to get this, or do I want to get another Mavic 2 for redundancy? And
I saw people flying this drone over water, totally fine, following their boat, following their jet ski. Yeah. And I took it out near where I live in New Jersey to the Pine Barrens, where there's a lot of like cranberry bogs. So it's really cool because it's a lot of water, but there's like little roads that, connect them all. So I took, my SUV out there. I was just driving around on the dirt roads, having it follow my car. I really couldn't go all that fast, but I was trying a lot of different things. And there was a lot of tight areas that it had to maneuver around. And as soon as I got through a tight area, which I actually had to get out of the car to go back and get it, I was walking with it back to the car, and I just hear it go whoop, hit the water. It was like a kerplunk. And as soon as it did that, I turned around and I was like, did it just? Because my buddy was in the car driving, I was in the passenger seat, and luckily on our way out, I remembered where it was. I was like, we gotta go get like bathing suits. We gotta go get something. I put rocks. I put rocks with exactly the direction that it went out. And I remember it was like, all right, it's about 10 feet out. And as we were driving out, this guy, we were passing by, he had his window down and we kind of stopped and we were talking like, hey man, what you doing? Just out here, whatever. like, hey, we lost something in the water. Could you help us find it? He goes, yeah, I've got my waders on. So,
No way. Awesome.
He already had waders on. And he had a pole with like a hook on the end. So he was feeling around for it and he pulled it up in like 10 minutes. I gave the guy like $100. I was like, dude, you just made my day. You know, you saved me.
It's called a gaff or something. I think they use for fishing. Like the
yeah,
hook. Yeah.
He was definitely out there fishing, but it was just great that he was able to help me out, because that was really what made the videos. The fact that I had the drone, you know, like I was going to make a video regardless, but the fact that I was able to retrieve it was huge. So they warranted that, because it was, you know, their thing is like, if you crash it, we'll replace it. And that was a really abnormal behavior, but it just kind of goes to show that there's these little flaws in, you know, the full autonomy, and that I'm sure by now, it's been over a year that they've got a good system coming out for Skydio 3.
Yeah, and the government, they're being funded by the government now, which is why they're a billion-dollar company.
They got even more money to play with.
So I don't know if I agree with. Oops, wrong one. Where did Ash's comment go?
I was going to say I do kind of agree with what he's just put there. If they don't allow more manual control and allow you to fly it, they aren't, and there is room in this market for a competitor to come along and, you know, give DJI a run for its money. And Skydio seem to be the most promising, but they do have to not just focus on the sort of automation side of it, because that's only going to have a niche market, whereas your DJI drones have mass appeal because people can fly them, people buy them for sports tracking. There's thing. I hope Skydio do.
All they need is a very tactile remote control like DJI has, and they're going to grab a whole bunch of market, because the thing's capable of being cinematic. It already has a 3-axis gimbal. It has everything it needs. It just has just the remote is weak.
Needs a controller.
And Henry, are they looking for interns? You got to move up north the coast of California.
I got to move.
You got to be their autonomy engineer, man. You got to get on that.
Well, you know, I look at Skydio and I look at their drone, and it is very autonomy centric, and it's not built with the drone flyer in mind, right? Like I tell people, like, you know, if someone says like, hey, should I get a Skydio or a Mavic? You know, the first thing I ask them is like, well, do you like flying your drone? And they're like, yeah, I like flying my drone. I say, well, buy the Mavic, because that whole manual flight was totally an afterthought with them, because they just borrowed Parrot's tech for the remote. They were like, hey, let's use Parrot's remote, slap our name on it, change the color to blue or whatever, and we're good. That's going to be our remote. But I think that with how well they designed the beacon and how well they designed the actual drone itself, they could make a badass remote. So I hope that is a big, I guess, it's a big what? It's a big
upgrade that they've made.
Upgrade, but it's a big focus in their next drone.
Yeah, that's the word.
The pendant is genius. The pendant's genius for tracking you. But I still, Ash, I don't know if, I'm not sure if Ash is correct here when he talks about Skydio not being concerned with the rest of the world, just North America, basically. And I thought that was a legality thing that they're struggling with, as far as
I'm not sure
about legality. I don't think it's by choice. I think they'd love to capture the world market. They just legally can't yet, or something.
I would definitely like to try one out if they get it here.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I just think you look at the growing pains of companies, right? And I think that's a growing pain of Skydio. I mean, they're still such a small company compared to a lot of these other drone manufacturers, to the point where it was hard for them to even keep up with demand here in the States, right?
Yeah, they couldn't. I mean, I actually gave up. I think mine was supposed to be built like in March. They came out in like October.
Yeah, think about 19. All of the other areas they'd have to service if they were able to, you know, sell to all these other countries. It would be unreal. You'd be waiting over a year to buy the drone. It would just not be fun.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I think they've got to walk before they can run, right? And I wonder if, because they're working with the government, and if some of the technology they create is only here for the United States, right?
Yeah.
For example, like rocket technology with SpaceX, you know, they can't hire people that are from outside of the United States, because it's proprietary to the United States, or it's locked down. You know, I wonder if they're going to have two versions of their autonomy system, one in their enterprise drones that is just wild, and another that is consumer based. And I could see that happening.
Yeah, more of a simplified one for consumers. Was this question that where did it go now? I lost it.
I think
Bill's asking about that. Yeah, the last Skydio update. Bill was asking.
I saw John's. real quick. He said that, the money is in the enterprise. I agree with that. And I think that a lot of these companies understand that. That's why a lot of companies like Parrot have gotten out of the consumer game and they've really focused on like commercial applications. But I think that they want to retain their image as a public brand with their consumer drones, because if they just start making enterprise drones, they lose us talking about it, So
oh yeah, we stopped talking about it. Exactly, yeah.
They want to maintain their brand recognition. So yeah, the Skydio updates really have made it a better drone. I've been impressed because they add so many features and so much functionality, and they make the drone better. But the pain point is the hardware. It's the remote. It still is just, it's not good. It's
I mean,
like
you can't fix that with software.
That's why. That's really why I didn't buy one, honestly. That's
the
why.
transmission system is pretty bad too. You can't fly more than 2,000, 4,000 feet away without it starting to break up and pixelate. So it's still very heavily centered on autonomy. And no matter what they do with that drone, I'll never choose to fly that over the Mavic 2 Pro. We'll see what the future holds with future drones, but the Skydio is not a drone flyer's drone.
What if it was like, what if you set it up for waypoints? Like you set up a mission and then it would fly like an FPV drone and have that's the fixed wing. And if you could set up like, send it out somewhere, and then the autonomy and the obstacle avoidance would be like your perfect flying camera to get the shots, even though you're not doing any work.
Yeah.
Look, like the Apple of drones.
Yeah.
I think it would be pretty cool. I mean, if you look at the design of the drone with the two props that are underslung, I almost think that you could fly that thing like an FPV drone, like upside down and stuff.
Inverted?
But of course, it's limited by the software.
Yeah, so the props are on the bottom to, I guess, clear the sensors, right? It was because they need the sensors and the visibility.
Yes.
They need the sensors on the top. Yeah. So
the props had to be on the bottom, on the front.
Mm-hmm.
How's that hand catching it, Billy? I mean, it seems like awkward.
It's pretty good. It's pretty easy because the battery acts as like a grip. You just grab onto the battery, and that's the way that you launch it, is with your hand. You actually take it off and it flies up and spins around and looks back at you, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. I love the little mailbox thing they were making for Enterprise.
I know, dude.
That was so cool.
My God,
I wanted one of those.
I mean, I do a lot of
every morning.
Yeah, I do like mapping with some farms and stuff, and I thought to myself, like, man, if I could alleviate having to go there and make money by putting the box with the Skydio there and let it go out and map the farm, come on, man. But then that brings in the whole beyond visual line of sight thing. So
that's changing though. That's going to change. BVLOS is coming because of Amazon. Not that we're going to talk about this today, but
we've got them to thank for one thing, right?
Yeah, because I think they want that really bad. But will that push us out of the skies as hobbyists? I hope not.
I don't think that they will totally push us out, but they could make it so hard to the point where it's just not even enjoyable anymore.
Yeah,
I hope
Which
not.
would be sad. Yeah,
that would be very sad.
Very sad because
I'd have to start reviewing laptops on my channel instead of drones.
So, Billy, is that what you got? Going back to almost I was wondering, is that what got you into the hobby as a whole? Was YouTube, or were you just into the hobby to fly and then it kind of evolved into YouTube?
I bought my Phantom first because I thought they were really cool. I was like, this thing is great, I saw actually my lacrosse coach bought a Phantom 3 to film our practices. And then I don't even know what he did with it, but I think that he was just buying it because he wanted to have fun with it. So I saw that, I was like, man, that's really cool. And this was back when I was in high school, right? Coming out of high school. So, I had $1,000 saved up from my job over the summer, and I was like, man, this is all the money that I've got. That was $1 million to me when I was that old. And I saw that Best Buy was having a sale on the Phantom 4 that came with an extra battery. I was like, let's do it. Let me spend all my money on this drone. And I had always been into uploading videos to YouTube. And I thought to myself, let me upload a drone video to YouTube. And it was my first video that got 300 views. And I was like, wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I got to stick with it.
Nice. Now look at you.
Yeah.
100K, baby.
Right? Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
Never thought I'd see the day.
Oh, it's just the beginning for you, man. Just the beginning.
Yeah. Oh,
thank you.
Yeah.
The videos that you make are well done because people will be buying the FPV drone for a while, and it's like when the Spark videos. And I know that's how I found you, and you'd made those videos a while back. So but yeah, I think you had about 5,000 or 6,000 when I first started watching you. It's amazing watching your journey, and congratulations, dude. You deserve
it.
You do.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Inspirational.
Yeah.
Keith and I dream of the day.
We keep going back to the Spark, and it makes me miss that drone because it was.
I missed the hell out of that thing. I sold my
drone, man.
I sold my. you have the portable charger, Billy? That was awesome.
Yeah, the little battery, like case. It was such a great little drone, and I mean, look, obviously the Mini is great too, but I just love the character that it had, and I think that if it had a better transmission system, it'd be so much better. But you can't fly more than 1,000 feet away without it just disconnecting.
No, but you couldn't go more than 1,000 feet away. The battery would die because it only flew 12 minutes or so. I took that. Yeah. I took mine to Oregon with me, and I was flying it, and freaking I couldn't fly it very long. And by the way, about leaving the props on it, I didn't have that portable charger at the time, and I left the props on it in my bag, and I bent a prop when I was flying it. I didn't know later I had the footage. It was kind of like had a little wobble, and the footage was garbage.
It did well with a 2-axis gimbal. Unless you were in sport mode and you were really ripping, then you kind of got that, bowing effect, like it was kind of tilting a little bit. But the 2-axis gimbal worked out pretty well.
It worked pretty well, yeah. It was like a tank because I had only flown it twice. I took it up to the local school where I was flying, actually where I flew the FPV the first time, and it lost contact and it backed into like a church that was made out of brick. It backed and it slammed into the brick building.
Let me guess, the drone lost.
Actually, it bounced. I had the prop guards on it, and it bounced.
It was a remarkably strong little drone.
It was a tough little drone.
It was.
You still have it?
I sold mine a year ago, which was stupid because I should have just kept it. It was super.
I had to sell mine because my wife told me I couldn't get a Mavic if I.
Well, that was kind of like I wanted to keep the fleet to 3. Now I've already broken that. Now I'm at 4. But any takers on a Mavic? I don't know.
I've got a nice collection growing over there. I got it still.
I have as well now. With the FPV, I've got 3, and I'm okay with that. I think I'll change it over to the Pro, but although if the 2S is any good and has a large sensor and all of these things that I was saying, no, DJI, you're not going to have my money, but I know that they are. I know that
you've got to wonder what they're going to price it at. Like, is this going to overtake the Mavic Air 2? I just look at this whole entire change up they're doing with their lineup, and I'm wondering what is their end goal? Because they're dropping the name Mavic from the Mini, they're dropping the name Osmo from the Pocket and stuff like that. So it seems like they're going through this big shift with their lineup, and I wonder what the future holds for them and where that's going to fit in.
I was wondering if they do bring out a Mavic 3, is it just going to be called the 3? I mean,
yeah,
3 Pro.
Well, I wonder if that's just going to be called the Mavic, right? Like they're going to call that
maybe that'll
the
get the Mavic name. Yeah, maybe that's going to hold the Mavic name. That would make sense. There's definitely a marketing shift. It's not so much the products are shifting, but their marketing angle is shifting for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you've seen DJI in the past year or so, they've dropped the first name, like Billy said, they've dropped the Mavic from the Mavic Mini and the Mavic Air, and they've dropped the Osmo name from the Osmo Mobile 2. And I just think recently DJI has been doing small refreshes, not like big new drone releases where stuff is completely new, but sort of little refreshes where they just kind of quietly make some stuff better, kind of like this Mavic 2S or Mavic Air 2S. It's not going to be like a completely new drone. It's just going to be
revolutionary. It'll be more evolutionary, kind of.
Exactly.
I mean, I find that the Air 2, I was far more impressed with it than I thought I was going to be. I agree.
You still want me to sell all my Mavic 2s? Chuck, unload them, get an Air.
Well, no, I'm saying unload
Air 2,
one of them again, because I find that when you're traveling, it's an easier drone to carry around. And considering the quality that you get out of it and how cheap it is, in some ways, it's better built because the arms don't rub against the sides and all of those.
Yeah, it's always been kind of weird with the the Mavic 2.
I know. I just had to replace my Mavic 2 Pro, so I got a brand new one. And when I put the bottom legs in, it gets caught. It gets stuck, and I have to forcefully push it in. And there's a lot of really great things that they've done that are just small changes with the Mavic Air 2. Like the remote, I like better, even though it doesn't have the built-in screen. I like the design of the remote better. I think that the batteries are better. I mean, the Mavic 2 Pro batteries get puffy, so they've definitely changed the battery design. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to like about it. And I kind of like to look at that as like the direction that they might be going with like a Mavic 3 or something, you know, like maybe they're going to give us that same remote controller with a dark gray finish and a little screen at the bottom. I mean, I just think about that and how great that would be.
A little
So
telemetry on there. Yeah.
they take out that DJI logo and they put like an OLED screen, like an OLED strip. That would be badass.
That would be badass.
No.
Stop giving them ideas, Billy. Stop. I get my wallet.
Give them
my wallet for myself.
They should pay you.
Royalty checks.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to patent it.
We talked about the
have to
BK
pay
edition
royalties.
before, didn't we? The BK edition for DJI.
Yeah.
Really,
The signature. Have your signature on like the hull of the drone.
with the amount that you know about drones, start your own drone company.
Yeah, you should.
Dude, I've always thought about it and I've always wondered, but I don't know. I like that would then make me impartial to my own drone company and I wouldn't want to fly anything else. But I look at have you seen, this is totally going off tangent, but have you ever seen these ads for the Exo drone? Have you heard of that?
I haven't seen the Exo. No.
Okay, look up Exo drone because I'm getting ads like crazy. They're touting that it's made in the USA. They have a drone called the Xeno, and it looks like the Xeno, like the hubs. It's so strange, and they're like the one ad that I keep seeing is like this baseball pitcher and a guy with a bat. And they're pretending the baseball pitcher throws the drone and he flies the drone towards the guy with the bat and he hits it and he goes, "Oh, it's an Exo. I'll just go buy another." So they're saying, "Oh, it's only $500. I'll just go buy another." It's such a stupid ad.
What did I do with it? Is it this one? Let's see if is it this thing right here?
Yeah.
I found it.
But it says
Exo
it's Hubson though.
But why does it say Exo?
I don't know, but it's not expensive.
Whoa! What the heck is this?
Have you guys never heard of these guys before? Look
they
at
ring
the Cinemaster. Click on the Cinemaster there. I think that's the one that they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna."
Oh my god, that's
right
like a
into.
Mavic control almost.
Yeah, look at that thing.
It's a complete
It's a
ripoff.
3D rendering of a Mavic controller.
Yeah, and we go to the drone.
It is.
Oh, and the controller is,
It looks a little cheesier than, it's not as nicely put together as the DJI stuff, but man, for like, what do you get for like, wow, they're flying more. Gonna be like $600.
Is this going to be another micro drone 4 though? So we got be careful.
I don't know, but that's wow.
Look, their whole thing is like I think it's like made in the USA. They tout or something like that, but I doubt it. I think it's just they're trying to capture a market and whatever. But
they probably just put it in the box in the USA and they could say it's made in the USA. One of those tricks.
Yep.
Or they get all these parts and they're put together and in the US. It's a bit like
sorry, Keith.
It's a bit like the Apple Mac Pro. It's built in the US, but most of it's just components. All they do is put it together in the US. It's all built in a Chinese factory. It's just sent to you in kit.
That's the Skydio as well.
Absolutely, the Skydio, because we don't have all those parts here in the States. They have to get them, source them. Yeah, I love Skydio.
Oh yeah,
I love it's a San Francisco company and stuff. That's super cool.
It is cool. It's nice to know that it's an American drone company because I mean there's just been nobody even competing with them with DJI, and I would even say that Skydio isn't even on the level of DJI, but I think that they have that potential, and that's why I'm a huge advocate of them, and I hope that they come out with more than just their Skydio drone, because that's the big issue with all these other manufacturers is they bring one drone to the market and they're like, look, this is what we have, but then DJI is like, look, this is what we have.
Yeah,
right? They have
huge.
They have like a whole plethora of stuff.
They have a drone for every single person. Like if you are somebody that is just getting into drones, or if you're somebody that's a professional, they have something for you. But Autel has more or less one offering. Okay, they changed the camera, but they've got one offering. Parrot, one offering. Skydio, one offering. And it's tough. I wish those people that would. I think that's the biggest pain point, is that I wish that these companies would come out with a more diverse plethora of drones, because then it could make them stand out.
And I think that can be particularly seen in, like the mini range, where it's like, what drone do you compare the mini to? Like the
Xeno X, whatever it is.
I mean, nobody even competes in that space.
The V-Falcon V-Copter.
It's funny.
Where's the V-Copter? I so like that thing. It looks. I know it's not going to happen. It looks so cool on paper.
It's funny you should say that. Fimi is making a new mini drone.
Of course they are.
Yeah, but look, I know people sort of like turn their noses up at filming, but I used a filming palm for a while. I had to play with it, and whilst the actual overall video quality wasn't as good as an Osmo Pocket, they did improve on things. Yeah, that's it. They did improve on a few things over the Osmo Pocket. I had a much better wide angle view. In some aspects, the footage was slightly better. It's just interesting what Fimi are doing. I mean, don't get me wrong, they ripped off the Pocket design, but they kind of made it slightly better.
And they've done that with the Mini too. The Mini too, they ripped it off. I mean, look at the range. It's 31 minutes of flight time.
It looks like a Mini too.
It looks like a Mini too.
There is competition.
You can USB-C charge this thing quickly. It's the specs are formidable. I just don't know if the actual product is going to be as. It looks great on paper. Again, it's one of those things that looks great on paper, but will it be?
We know DJI delivers, but I don't know.
Well, they do, but they don't always get it completely right. I mean, the Osmo Action has not had a new one. I mean, don't get me wrong. When the Osmo Action came out, it was arguably better than the Go.
What did I do? Did I freeze us? Keith froze.
He's frozen.
Look at him. You can draw on his face.
Oh no,
Keith! Use the force, Keith. Use the force. Oh
no!
It's the Thai internet has let us down.
I thought it was going to be my internet who let us down, but
it's not a very appealing. I need to get a screenshot of this. Maybe frozen to the frozen. Oh, he's coming back. No. Oh, you knew he's.
I was back.
Right, you're back.
I'm back.
Dr. Freeze.
Did you forget what you were saying?
And he's gone again.
He's gone again. Oh, look at this. This is like, it happens.
He came back just to say he was back.
Technology is great when it works. I mean, I wasn't letting Keith get a word in edgewise. I didn't mean to do it with technology. It's kind of mean.
Anyway, while he's gone.
Well, he's going to want to talk about the Air 2S. I know he is, at least for a few minutes. We were already... I don't know why this stream always runs over. But Billy,
we're jumping all around.
We are. We're making our viewers dizzy because there's just so much to talk about.
I mean, yeah, and yeah.
What? What? Did he freeze? Oh, Billy! No. I thought you froze. I was like, oh no, we lost. We lost.
I thought Billy froze.
What the hell happened? I was like, what?
I was looking at the screen. I was like, oh no.
They're dropping like flies.
No, he's back. He's back. He just popped in. He's coming back.
I thought it was going to be my internet that failed. Guess not.
Yeah, it's my dodgy internet. I'm back.
You got jinxed.
Sorry about that.
No, you're back. It's all good.
Where was I?
Where were you?
I don't even remember. It was like 2 minutes ago.
We were talking about we were talking about the Fimi.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Mavic 2 ripoff or Mini 2 ripoff, and then you froze.
I was saying that the DJI don't always don't always make, they're not always. I don't know, how do I put this? They don't always get it right, and I think it'll be interesting to see if they come out with a new Osmo Action.
I think it's due for an update.
I mean,
it's
there's
hurting.
things that could be done better.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not an Action 2. I think we touched on that on Coast to Coast Drones, Billy.
But I have to say I love this FPV drone. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect, but
oh, what the heck! You talked me into it. I'm just gonna.
I mean,
there it is.
I love the blue lights, Keith. What a surprise, right? Yeah.
I remember when I first turned it on, I was like, I took a step back. I was like, what?
What is that? That is not what I expected. Billy, did you get filters for yours yet? Because like I have the free wells.
Yeah. I've got some from PGY Tech.
Okay. I think Keith has those.
I've got those. Why didn't they include an ND32? I don't quite get that.
The PGY Tech filters?
Yeah. You only have the 16, the 4, and the 8.
So so here's what I would say is that this is going to be a fully automatic drone, right? Like you're not going to fly in manual camera mode, for example, right? And you're probably going to be flying with 60 frames per second. So your shutter speed is going to be 120. It's 1/120th, right? Yeah. And so as you make that image darker, you're not going to want a really dark ND filter because then it's just going to really like change the shutter speed.
That's a good point.
So probably really the highest you'd want to go is about 16 because of that shutter speed.
And that's what I was flying like in the park, like the last couple of times I had.
Whereas if you're shooting 4K 30 on like a Mavic and you've got that shutter speed at 60, it's going to be substantially brighter. So you might want something that's a little bit darker. So even if you're flying, even with like a Mavic Air 2 with like an f2.8 aperture, you might want to throw on, you know, an ND32 just because of how bright it is. But when you've got that higher shutter speed,
I do like the way the freewell filter anyway. I don't know about I'm sure the other ones are similar, but when you first did your flights over the river, you had like I had a problem with a Mavic 2 Pro camera where it looked like a fingerprint smudge on it. And that was kind of like the flare that the DJI drone gets. It gets like it's kind of a smeary flare. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
And then when I got that on mine too, and I put the freewell filter on because it showed up like the day after I got it, and like it cleaned her up in a nice star pattern, kind of. It helped.
Yeah, and I think that's the big reason that's a problem is because of how wide that lens is. You know, like it really catches the sun at a weird angle.
But the filters seem to kind of soften that.
I've heard that. I literally just got them delivered last night, so I haven't used them.
Here comes the full reviews in the works.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying them because they are a little bit different in how they work with, you know, the FPV drone. Like ND filters at the end of the day are just ND filters, but.
I'm curious.
I mean,
did you take the little protective wrap off the camera around the housing of the camera, or have you left it on?
You rip all the plastic off.
I think I've taken it off.
I was just curious because like I took it off before I put the filters on because they're like a press fit.
Gotcha.
I was just curious. I was curious how they fit if somebody didn't take that little protective plastic off.
I took mine off, but I like the PGY Tech filters. I have to say, PGY Tech in the last few years have got quite a lot better with their quality.
The quality of their stuff is so great. I really do like it. I mean, it doesn't feel like, you know, chintzy plastic. It's like really like high quality plastic, and the same thing with their filters too. They're all really good.
I've just ordered their One Mode backpack to put my FPV drone in because I've got another backpack and it just didn't fit as nice. But I saw Flight Pass video and he got everything in. I went, that's what I'm looking for. Right, I'll have that bag.
Eldrin did that really good review on it too. Yep.
Have you seen the goggles Fly More like backpack that they offer?
Yes.
I was tempted to pick it up, but then it went out of stock and I was like, nah. So I'm still kind of looking for a backpack solution. I've got the case, which is kind of, you know, working for me now, but I think that in the long term, I'm a backpack guy because I'd rather just throw it on my shoulder and bring it with me. I don't need a hard case.
Agree.
I like the look of the One Mode backpack. I mean, I want to show this video because I want to talk about why I want the backpack, because I went to some random places and we were walking and the backpack, because you just can't get the drone into the thing. Let me just share this video quickly.
I know you're chomping at the bit. Go ahead and share it.
Yeah, I'm chomping at a bit.
It's pretty awesome, actually.
Hang on.
Roll them.
Let me just...
with sound, Keith. Don't forget the sound, brother.
I
know.
Oh, yeah, the sound makes it.
It's just...
Wow.
I mean, this is just crazy good.
It's all in sports mode.
Oh, that's a great shot.
That's just
Keith, like, it amazes me how this drone is so versatile in sport, how it can fly almost like a Mavic.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of horizon shift, and then you can unleash the beast, which happens. Yeah. Hey, Mr. Jedi.
Oh, he's getting balls.
Oh, I love that sound. It's awesome. My favorite shot's coming up, Keith. Wait, Keith. Where is it? There it is. That's DJI marketing right there. That's sweet. Bravo.
Dude, that was a great video. Good job.
Thank you.
He's been flying the
that was
crap out
excellent.
of this thing. Yeah.
The reason I wanted to show it is because a lot of people I've been having issues with manual. I'm using the Sims and I'm getting better. But that was all shot in sports mode. And my point is that I think this drone does have some you can get good stuff with it in sports mode, but
absolutely
some of those beaches that we went to there, because one beach, the beach where the music stopped and it flew under, and that was my only moment, because I don't know if you noticed there was a tree there and I only saw it right at the last moment, and thank God it was in sports mode because I could flip it up and get it, but I was going oh shit.
Hit the button key, the OS button.
Yeah, no, I wanted button. The shot.
Billy called that one the OS button. Yeah.
Yeah, you coined that phrase. And it is. But I mean, we went to a beach, and it is an awkward drone to carry. And one of the things that's really annoying, especially when you're on a beach, is putting those damn props on and off. And
they are a little clunkier. They are tougher to put on than the design that was copyright whatever infringement upon Evo or whatever hotel.
And that's why I was sort of talking about the bags and stuff, because I want a better bag to carry it, because when you're walking along the beach and stuff, you just need something that you can get the whole thing in. And
you're going to see a couple of things. You're going to see a hard case that allow you to keep the props on. That hopefully is not much bigger than the drone, and then you can throw it in like a backpack. And then the other thing they're going to need is a gimbal guard that fits over these ND filters. That's got to be coming. Somebody's going to do that. And then
I
it's
agree with
more
that.
portable.
Yeah,
because I never take the ND16 off, except when I got if I'm carrying my vehicle to fly it at the playground or whatever, I just leave the gimbal guard off. But you need to have that on when you're going to pack it to travel. It's a pain to take those filters off, Billy. I don't know if you tried them yet, but they're kind of like
I haven't tried yet.
VNDs. That's that. If the
VNDs,
that'll
happen. That'll happen.
Free will, I have one in the back.
They're teasing us.
How long?
These first, then those later.
How long did you use the simulator to learn to fly it in manual? Did you just?
Well, when I got it early, the simulator was not really all that good. Everything was in Chinese. Like the whole entire app was in Chinese. And I still think that the simulator is like a good option, but I don't think it properly replicates how the drone flies. You can't change your rates. It's like pretty much the rates right out of the box, which are really touchy and really sensitive. So the way that I did it was I just put the drone up, I put it in the manual mode with the attitude limit, and I'd fly around. And if I'd get uncomfortable, I'd flip it into sport mode, get myself out of trouble, fly back to a safe area, and then go back into manual with that attitude limit. That is the biggest I guess, way that you can progress flying from GPS to manual. And I tell that to everybody. I talked about it on Bill's show, Coast to Coast. So I would highly recommend, like you were at that spot where I wouldn't recommend flying sport mode or where I wouldn't recommend trying manual because of all that stuff around, right? So I would say head out to a field, take 3 batteries, try flying in manual, and just keep flying with that attitude limit on, and you're going to get it pretty quick.
Would you say that you would always fly in manual, or would you say that sports mode has its place?
Sport mode definitely has its place, but I think that people need to understand that this is not going to give you like the type of footage that like a Mavic does. So I'm working on a video right now about the issues that this drone has that a lot of camera drone flyers will come to this drone having. 1-axis gimbal. They're going to be like, what the hell? right? The shorter battery life. Of course, if you're ripping with this drone, you're not going to expect that longer battery life. A lot of people also don't like that the props are in the shot, but quite frankly, I like them in the shot when I've got my goggles on, because I feel like I can see the front portion of the drone. I'm like, all right, there's my drone. I know where I am in space, and it kind of acclimates me. Now, that's kind of a pain point with the one camera system, because you've got one camera for the transmission and to record the video. But whereas if you're flying with like a built FPV drone, right, you'll see the props in the shot on your air unit camera, but you might not see them in the GoPro camera. So, you know, there's a lot of these issues that GPS drone flyers will have with the drone, but I think that it's just, it comes with the nature of flying a drone that is like this, you know?
Yeah, but you can, well, you know this, you can crop the props out from the footage on the drone itself and still show them on the goggles, so that so you have that wider perspective when you're flying. But when you get your final footage, I can talk honest, that they're cropped out, so it's done for you. So it's one less thing to do in post. With
the electronic image stabilization, right? With the image roll correction.
I think I have all that on. I'm questioning myself now.
There is the distortion correction. So I think that what that does is it distorts it. And I think it might punch it in. And I have that so that on the aircraft, it punches in. But then on my goggles, it doesn't distort it. So I've got the full view. I think that you can sometimes still see the props in the shot, like just a little bit with that turned on. But if you really want to get them out of the frame, you could turn on what's called the image roll correction. And it adds like a roll axis, and that's good for like normal and sport mode if you want to try and keep that horizon more level. It should not be used in manual though. It got me sick. I had it on manual and I was all over the place. I was like, I was sick.
I had it on for a while, but when I was flying through the trees and doing all that, you know, stuff, I found one, it did make me motion sickness, but it also blocked, because it crops it right in. I found that you weren't able to get the precision that you can when you just have the stabilization on in the drone, not the goggles.
I leave it off.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't bother with it.
See what Bill's asking here about Atmos? I don't think
that's my company name, but I don't know what he's talking about. He always does those things. He drops something and then he's got to further explain. He just assumes everybody knows what he's talking about.
Because I have no idea. Shame on me.
Neither do I.
No idea.
If it comes up, I'll bring it up. But I know what he's getting at.
In the dark.
I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the experience, and there are issues with it. That if you don't have it in the US, its transmission range is pants, and it's really bad.
I didn't even know what that meant, but I knew what it meant.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Because we have two different transmission ranges. So officially, when it's not in FCC mode, you will get. I was losing signal less than 1,000 feet away, and if I go behind a tree, it just drops out signal. And the difference between FCC mode and the other mode is night and day. Let's just say I've experienced it in FCC mode, and it is completely a different beast. The signal is much more strong. You can fly behind trees. Because I had one thing where I went behind a tree and it lost signal. So what does it do? It goes into return to home, which is a problem when there's overhead branches and you have to suddenly run and hope to catch it before it hits the top of the trees. It is a problem.
To that point, really quickly, you can change whether you want it to hover, land, or return to home. I keep mine on return to home, obviously, because if I'm far away, I want that thing to come back to me.
Yeah.
But that was something on our point about the Fly app versus the Go app. That was something that the Fly app didn't have at first. You couldn't choose the lose connection action. So it would always return to home, which, okay, that's great, but you couldn't change that, which was kind of, dicey, but now they added it. But sorry, go ahead.
No, you're correct. They've added it in there.
That's a good point.
And it's a good tip. But if you don't remember if you're just flying around trees locally, it's a good point to put it on. It's a good tip. I should probably make a video and put that as a tip. But it's
be a race to make the video now. The race.
Yeah. The other thing that I found is there's no battery information yet in the goggles. It doesn't give you any information on the batteries. There's a few other things missing.
I think you can see a cycle count, and that's it. I think within the about section, there's a cycle count. I think this is just like the Fly app in a sense that we have very little information. And I think that they really need to build out the menu system inside of the goggles for stuff that we can look at. There's no map. Sure, it has air sense in there, and you can see where other manned aircraft are in the sky, but it just beeps at you. It doesn't show you where they're at. So there's a lot missing. The Fly app, when you plug it in, first of all, they should have made a separate app for the FPV drone because it's so different.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be the Fly app.
Exactly what I was thinking.
I like the Fly app, and I don't want it to be too bloated with 5 different apps you need for all these different drones. But I think the FPV drone is such a different drone. It deserves its own app for the other eventual FPV drones they'll probably come out with, right? Make it geared towards FPV, build the simulator into that app, just makes it a lot better of an experience, in my opinion. Because the Fly app right now, it just works as a video out. You just plug it in and somebody can just watch. You can't do anything with the Fly app. And to further mention some bugs, when you have the Fly app on and you're plugged in, if you start recording on the drone, you press it on the goggles or on the remote controller, it kills the video feed to the Fly app. You can no longer see the video feed on here. It just goes to like a gray screen. And then when you stop recording, it restores that video feed. So it's like, sure, I can have somebody watch me fly around, but then I can't record that footage. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's a miss. Hopefully they can straighten it out.
Right?
Yeah, that's a miss.
At the end of the day, the Fly app just needs to be better. Like they just need to make it better for the FPV drone.
It's funny you made a comment earlier about how sort of DJI have smoothed out all the modes and how flying a Mavic is very different to say flying an Auto, and I completely agree with you. The mode, sports mode and normal mode on this FPV drone needs some work. There is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed this, but I've noticed, especially over water and especially in wind, you sharp turn that thing, it dips, and it does properly dip, and that can be a problem.
Yeah, and so with your video, something I was really impressed with is the smooth motion from side to side, because sometimes when you're in sport mode, I feel like it's very jerky, especially when you kind of go from like you're flying like this and then you go to tilt over to this side. On that tilt, when it hits 0 and then goes back, you kind of get these like twitches.
Yeah, you do.
And so that's why I've been flying in manual, because it just keeps it straight. And I just try to fly in manual almost as if it's in sport mode. So I'm cruising. But, that's another thing. It almost feels like you're turning on the FPV mode on a 3-axis gimbal on one of like their drones, like the Mavic Air 2, like you get that same little twitchy feel. Like it doesn't feel like that full experience. And you're right. It does need some work.
You have to compensate for it, and I was when I knew that I wanted a particular shot, I was trying to sort of compensate for it, and I did. I was flying that drone left, right, and center every time my wife wasn't looking. I was out on the beach flying the drone, so I got I think I filled up 4 128 gig cards. So
oh my
I went
god,
through, that's just all the flights.
And then you didn't have your adapter, remember? You called me up, you were all upset. I go, I don't have any way to transfer my footage.
Well, luckily, I just set up a Mac that had a memory card reader from my friend. That was the other reason we were there. And so I was running over to his house every day and just plugging my hard drive and plugging my memory card and start uploading all this footage. There was a lot of jerky footage, so it did take a while to go through all the stuff just to make something. But
you learn how to get over those. Like you learn how to deal with the drone's shortcomings, and you learn how to work around certain things. You wish they weren't there in the beginning, but you eventually will learn how to fly it. And in that video, you did a really good job of overcoming those sport mode issues.
You hit a couple banana trees. Were injured along the way, if I recall, right, Keith?
Well, when I was learning,
one video was awesome. You guys can't see.
No banana trees were harmed.
He smacked the banana tree leaf, and you could hear it because the mic was on. You hear this. Like this big banana tree. It's awesome.
Well, I don't know if I've got it.
But
this was when I was.
Great.
Hang on, I think I might have it. Let me have a look. Let me just.
Keith
was
flying the heck out of the thing before that trip, so he was getting good with sport mode.
I don't know if I've got
Billy's
it.
Right. You can learn how to. You learn about the shortcomings. You can work around them as a pilot.
Yeah, but that's not true with the Auto, because I can't work over those shortcomings. There's too many shortcomings working up against me.
You're spoiled. You're just spoiled.
Everybody flies a DJI drone.
Yeah,
I've got it here.
They make it so easy. They just make it so damn easy.
Will this actually? Here we go. Here we go. We'll see if this works. Hang on. Watch this. So this was me just sort of trying to learn, and I kind of. I went back. And trust me, that leaf was gone. And it looked like
they're big. They're great big honking leaves.
The drone didn't even stop. It just kept going.
It just piled through it. Like
when I landed the drone, it looked like it'd been mowing the lawn. I mean, it just obliterated that leaf. It just
That's amazing.
So it doubles as an aerial weed eater.
You better watch when flying that drone around people. Like,
yes, no.
That's a good point.
I know John Coopy's in here, and I know that he was talking about that, but you're right, because if you're flying in manual and you don't know what you're doing and you hit somebody, dude, it's going to cause some
it ain't gonna be a fun day.
Oh my god, yeah, I know.
Did you guys see down the Florida drone meetup that dude that put his drone into the water?
What happened there, Bill?
Yeah, I was
Maverick. I am Maverick.
I was going to ask about that.
So he was flying around with the motion controller, and he was really ripping. And I think he got a little too confident. He tried to go under this little bridge there, and he got it stuck. And he's like, where am I? Where am I? And the drone was hovering under the bridge. I mean, we're talking it has maybe 5 feet of clearance, like very small, right? So he eventually comes out, and he's feeling good after that, right? He's like, oh, man, I'm like Maverick. And then right after that, he puts it into the water. So he thinks he lost it. He saves it, and then he actually loses it down into the water. Now, this one dude from Rhode Island goes into there, and his name's Mark. He goes into there. He finds the drone like 40 feet off of the shore, and he brings it back. Crazy dude. But yeah, so I don't know if that dude's drone ended up working, but he was using the motion controller, and I was talking with somebody, and I look up, and just as I look up, I see the FPV drone go kerplunk right into the water.
Sad day.
Well, I heard it was his first drone as well.
I think so.
I am Maverick.
He was getting cocky.
Yeah, the classic.
It does. I mean, I said this in my video. The problem with this drone is I got very bored very quickly in normal mode, and it does egg you on. It does entice you in. It's like that.
It draws you in.
Fly me harder, fly me tougher, fly me through trees and stuff. It's hard not to. It's just such a blast. The one thing I found that I think the reason I was able to do it, get going through sort of trees like that as quickly, and I've said this to Chuck, I think it's because I used to play a lot of video games when I was a kid, and I'm sure that helps. I'm really
even the controller has the Xbox
like a
feel.
PS5 controller, Xbox.
Yeah, or Xbox. Yes,
100% it helps. I'm sure.
Because I'm rubbish at video games except Sims. I was quite good at Sims. It was the only thing I'd ever play online on like Star Wars Battlefront was when you're flying sort of X-wings and stuff, and I did quite well there. So I'm think that I'm useless at everything else. But yeah,
your Jedi training, Keith. Training. Hence flying through palm trees like you're in the freaking with the Ewoks.
It's like the motion controller. It's like you've got the Force.
Yeah, he's the Force.
I'm going to go back out there. I am going to go back out there and see, but I'm nervous about putting it into sports mode with that motion controller because I still don't think you've got the fine level of, I can't see you getting out of those moments that you get into in sports mode where the button is not going to help you. It is you have to react fast, and I don't see the motion controller getting you out of that kind of mess. That's the only thing I'd say about it.
I'm still flying in normal mode because I'm way behind you, Keith and Billy, but I think I'll use the motion controller first in normal.
It's the Gale Force winds that are holding you back.
I haven't had any flight time, and then Keith knows I was working on a project that for one of our other episodes coming up, and it's gone slow, but I was out filming with the Mavic 2 like late at night at this location, and it sucked up all my time trying to figure out DaVinci Fusion and
the
weather.
Messing me about that.
Yeah, we'll get there. That's a whole nother story for another show. We could talk about our journeys through NLEs and editing. It's so important though for what we do.
Sure, we all have stories about that. Yeah.
You want to make good content, you got to really clip it up.
Are you a Mac man or a PC man, Billy?
Mac.
Is it?
It's a Mac.
Yeah.
I
Final
use
Cut.
Final Cut Pro. That's what I've been using since I started. I've tried Premiere, and it's got its place, but
yeah,
I just recently got the M1 Mac, and Final Cut just flies.
Nice.
I mean, a 7-minute 4K video exported in 7 minutes, 5 minutes on a 13-inch MacBook Pro is just crazy.
That's awesome.
But the only thing with that M1 Mac is it only supports one screen. It's the only reason I haven't bought it yet.
That'll change.
Yeah, I've got a 32-inch monitor, which I'm pretty happy with. But look, it has its pitfalls because it's a new machine. And really, I mean, I feel like this is a proof of concept because they just kind of took their chip and threw it in their old machines. So I'd be really interested to see, what they do with their newer machines. And that's saying something because I think they were smart by putting it in their old machines because people weren't buying these because they had a new display or a new trackpad or a new keyboard. And they were buying this solely because of the processor and solely because of the chip they put in it. And I think that just goes to show that it's such a winner that if they make a 14-inch MacBook Pro with upgrades all around and they include that chip or like an M2 chip, forget about it.
I mean, I tried rendering a 4K video on this 4-year-old one and it took about 5 minutes. Mr. over here who's got like a server under his desk.
Oh, come on now.
Right. Seriously, he's got a PC that's got. I'm in my other life. I'm an IT manager, and I've got servers at work that have got less memory in them than his PC.
64 gigs.
Yeah, but then you've got the 38 GTX in there, and it renders 4K videos in like 5 seconds flat.
Well, it tears up the Fusion stuff really good. It's still the i9 has to do the heavy lifting on most of the rendering, and it gets toasty.
I'm a simple man. I just want one computer, and it's a laptop, which is great because I can carry it around and it's portable. So, I look at like what we're doing for YouTube, and like people are like, "Oh, Premiere has more power. Premiere has better features and whatever." But it's YouTube. It's like at the end of the day, I'm not looking to do anything that's absolutely crazy. It's just kind of about what makes your workflow work the best.
Yeah.
I agree with that. As long as it is a tool and it has as little hitches as possible, takes as little time as possible, is the smoothest, then I mean really that's the one you should go for. And I think it depends on the person too.
Yep.
Well, I discovered DaVinci when I was using like Corral's Video Studio, which was kind of like a canned consumer one, and I've tried out DaVinci back in the fall, and now I'm hooked. It's way harder to learn. I had to go through the learning curve, and I'm still learning, but man, the power, the things you could do with it, like what you're using with Final Cut and stuff, it's so much more awesome. And they have a Mac version. It looks like
they do.
The public beta one or the public free one is.
I've got it installed.
It has its place. I think that a lot of these editing softwares just do some things better than the others, but again, it's like once you get comfortable with that one thing, it's just so easy to continue to use it.
Yeah, Billy, I wouldn't shift from what you were using. If I had started off like Premiere Pro, I'd be using it right now. But I
mean, if you have experience in something,
because it was hard to switch. I mean, that other. Sorry, Henry, I talked all over you, man.
No, it's okay. Continue.
But it is. You get comfortable. I was doing really well with Video Studio, even though it was kind of limited and stuff. I could work miracles with it, but I just needed to break free of that and get a real one. And I didn't want to.
I was fine with Final Cut and Motion until my partner here decided that we've got to start doing all these amazing intros that require putting in effects and things like that. It's like, oh God. And now I've had to download After Effects and start mucking around with that. But Chuck's doing really well with the DaVinci and working out the notes and stuff. But it's I like Final Cut because I'm just easy with it. I know how to use it, and my workflow, it still takes me hours to edit a video, but I just can do it in Final Cut.
It is whereas I can't. But it's so worth it. I mean, it's so worth it. I actually, if I have the time and I can sit down and just be at the computer and edit, I actually have a really good time. Just have a beer or two, and my wife's like, "Are you ever coming out of that office?"
I like for me, I really like the process of editing. And something maybe it's it for you guys. You guys probably already do this, but when I'm shooting a video, I'm already editing while I'm shooting because
You have to.
You know,
yeah,
I'm not the
It's
only
like-
one who thinks about that.
yeah, I mean, you got to
That's
think
nice
about
to
the
know.
edit while you're shooting, because you can make that editing process easier on yourself if you do something like while you're shooting. The way you shoot it, the order that you shoot it in.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways to make it easier. So it's kind of like as one workflow grows, your other workflow tries to match it, and you kind of get to this point where they're both working off each other to make things easy.
Yeah, it's not always hard to
Yeah.
get the shots in sequence like you talk about, but it's definitely make the mental notes and stuff. Like
Exactly.
Ash always liked to say, fail to plan, plan to fail. It's one of his lines.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
it's true. You have to have that, like before I go out on a vacation or something, and I talk to my wife, I'm like, well, I've got some ideas of what we can do. You get the storybook starts to like come in your head, and then you'll get out to the site and like whatever it is, like, yes, that's what
why
I'm gonna do.
My notes app on my phone is my best friend.
That's
write
awesome.
so much
Yeah,
right in
hell
there.
yeah.
Like it's so easy, like to make note of something so that you feel comfortable that like you're getting exactly what you need.
Yeah, because that's one thing I still struggle with. That I need to I get these really great ideas. Like my wife threw a couple at me this morning for when we go to Scotland. There's like she has these really good ideas, and I'm like, yes, gotta make a note of that one. It's like write it down. It's like
I've seen you do it with your iPad. I'm in your videos. You're looking at the iPad. I bet he's using the Notes app or something on there, and that's a really good idea. And I do that now, funny enough, because the last video I had everything on my phone. I just started making notes when they come to me. It's because it's like I know I want to make a tips video, and I was thinking about something today, and I just suddenly that Notes app is invaluable.
It's something I still struggle with. It's like doing the reviews. And mine aren't good enough yet, but it's because I need to think through the whole story. What do I want to tell? What do I want to tell the viewers so that they, they're engaged and they stay with me, and it's interesting and helpful and beneficial to them. And so I work on it. And that goes with the creative stuff too. Just the videos of me wandering around with my wife or whatever, just exploring. They have to be interesting and have a story too. So there's something to follow and stay engaged.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole challenge of video editing. I think it's putting the story together. You got all the pieces. I think editing just is the way you put everything together, and I think that's a crucial part of video making and storytelling.
Yeah, but it can't be like random. You have to actually to think it through, and to do that, it's hard to do when you're on vacation because it's kind of like it's almost like vlogging's better on vacation because stuff just happens.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when you're on vacation, it's kind of just cool to get footage of what you're doing, and there's no way to plan that. It's just kind of in the moment.
But it can work. You can put stuff together. I know one video I did from the Hudson Valley. I was back in the fall. I was flying the hell out of the Mavic 2 Pro, and I put together this video. And one guy commented on how it looks like a trailer. And I was like, yeah, it kind of does, because I have all these really good elements, and they're stitched together and they kind of make sense. But it did have a trailer feel, but it was really super fast. It's like.
It's it was a good video. I like the bit where you were flying over the sort of the rock out at sea. That was pretty cool. That was where was that?
That was Oregon, right? The Twin Rocks.
Oregon, yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Oh, that was the one where it was misty out. My wife wouldn't come out of the truck. I walked to the beach. It was like kind of misty in Oregon, and it was a little breezy. And I was like, we had been there 2 times to that spot, and I didn't fly. I'm like, F it, I'm flying this time. I don't care. And I get out there, and like. It's called Twin Rocks, and they were like 1,400 feet offshore in the Pacific because of the tide and everything. I'm like, doing it. I did it.
Just go for it.
Did it, and I was like, I got a bunch of shots there, and I'm just using the screen because it's like a teeny tiny little dot in the air. You can just barely see it. I'm like, okay, flying the dot around, trying to not hit the rocks, and that was pretty cool. I'm glad I did that one. That's what you got to do, though. You got to risk the bird to get those shots.
Absolutely.
You do. Yeah, you do. It's just when it's just you're lucky. I mean, I've got good insurance now, so hopefully I can recover some of my thing. I mean, with that FPV drone, I've noticed that the thing is now you have to shoot in 4K, and that is testing my computer. So the next cost is obviously going to be a new MacBook, and then the camera I'm on now does 4K reasonably well, but I still want that Sony A7S III. What are you shooting on? Are you on an A7S III, or are you still on your A3, Billy?
The A7 III I've still got, and I've been pondering getting the A7S III. But right now for YouTube, my A7 III is totally fine, and I haven't done a lot of like work, like video work outside of YouTube. A lot of it has just been photography, which getting the A7S III would be going backwards. So like,
yeah.
The A7 III is such a good hybrid, you know, like it shoots great video, it shoots great photos, it doesn't do one better than the other. So I've just been rocking with that as my main camera.
I'm still sort of looking at the A7C with envious eyes.
Yeah, I like that design. And you know, I mean, really, if you're looking at the A7S III, another good option would be the FX3. You know, their little mini cinema camera, which is kind of, you know, primarily geared towards shooting video. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that they came out with that after the A7S III, and they're both like identical cameras.
Yeah,
just different styles.
Keep talking me into buying my wife a camera that's way bigger than she is capability wise at the moment. She has a 6600.
It's a good camera.
All of Sony's cameras are so good. I mean, when I was first getting into, like, I bought a Panasonic G7, and that got me through a little bit. And it was like the cheapest camera that shot 4K video. I bought that at first. The autofocus was horrendous. So from there, I wanted to make the jump to something, and I wanted to choose an ecosystem that I could grow within, because, you know, you buy the camera, you buy the lenses, and then you're kind of tied into that camera. So I'm really happy I went with Sony, because they're doing really good stuff with their cameras.
Yeah, I'm actually letting my wife, she has the good photography equipment now. I mean, okay, with the aerial stuff, that's all DJI, that's all me, but I was a Pentax guy forever and ever. And I know, going back to, like, I mean, the dark ages, I had like the Pentax, and they've always used the lenses could carry over, even though they weren't quite right for like a full frame DSLR or whatever they worked. And I finally abandoned that. I was like, okay, Laura, we're gonna get it for Christmas. She got the Sony, and it's like, okay, now we'll grow with that. Let her. She has a really good eye. Her composition is outstanding, so I'm just gonna let her kind of like grow into it, and then we'll see what kind of magic she can work. But it's really easy to use the Sony. I mean, just the menus are kind of wonky at first, but then you
get used to it. Like, just get used to them. Like, you can complain about the Sony menus all you want if you just open up the camera for the first time and don't take the time to learn them. But once you actually start using the camera, I know where everything is. I just flip around and find what I need to.
Yeah,
do I wish it was touchscreen? Yeah, but
it's happening. Yeah, and the touchscreen. Actually, Pentax had a crappy touchscreen, just like Sony. It was the same kind of wonky thing where you had to use the menu button and stuff, and the cursor. It's the same thing, but yeah, it's just getting used to it. And Keith knows when I was doing those shots at the mall and stuff, I had the tripod set up with the camera. I'm fighting with it, but the more I fought with it, then it just gets more and more familiar, and I could get to the things I need to change quicker and stuff.
Yeah.
No camera is perfect. The perfect camera is the holy grail, but Sony cameras are damn good cameras.
Yeah, damn near it. Yeah.
I mean, look at I'm on one now. It's since they allowed you to use it as a webcam, they're just awesome.
Yep.
I need to use Lori's camera for this, don't I?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I'm using a Brio. You can tell the Brio is like, and I need her as my makeup person. I need powder. I'm glowing. Makeup.
Yeah. Anyway, we've been on for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely awesome. But I think we should let Billy go soon, because I mean, Billy, thank you for this.
Of course.
Thank you very much. For
really
appreciate
it.
Pleasure.
It's been a lot of fun too.
This has been really fun.
Yeah.
It's been great, and I really appreciate you coming. Thanks, Henry, for coming. We will be back in a couple of weeks with another one of these. But before we go, we have got a little bit of news. If you are regular watchers of this, you'll know that Chuck and I have been sort of simulcasting on our channels, and then sort of promoting one each week and flipping and flopping. And it's got to the point now where we get enough views that we think we're going to spin this out onto its own channel. So we are actually going to start a 2K Drones channel, which will be for this live stream. And that's what we're going to do. So in 2 weeks' time, our 2K Drones stream will be on its own channel. There is a channel, it's up there, it's live, so you can search for 2K Drones with a Z.
With a Z, correct.
And
Zed.
go over there
Zed.
go over there and subscribe, because we will be putting live streams up there, and I'm going to put a copy of this live stream up there as our first live stream because Mr. Billy Kyle here.
It'd be great.
Yeah. So
this is a day to be remembered. March.
Oh, this is definitely.
Yeah. So that's that. So keep a lookout for that. We'll be promoting it everywhere when we've got it all sorted out and all the details. But the channel's up, so please go and hit the sub button if you've been watching this. But anyway, guys, really appreciate watching. Thank you for all the people in the comments and all the chat. It's been amazing. It's been surprisingly quite a popular one today. I don't know why.
I don't know what it is. I don't know.
I don't know. The wind.
But
it's a windy day, so no one's flying.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's
cold
gone
too.
10:30 at night here, so it's I won't be flying. Anyway, guys, thanks for everything. Say goodbye to everyone, guys. Chuck, do you want to go first?
I want to thank Billy for joining us today. It's like huge. It's just really great to have somebody with so much experience in the drone industry, basically our community. It's really awesome to have.
Yeah, thanks for asking me on.
Thanks.
Oh no, thank you for coming.
And Keith, without Keith.
I get confused with that.
Oh, this has been like it's a bromance according to Ash at Droning On. Keith and I are bromance, but and Henry's on there with us too. So like Henry's been our information guy. It's great to have you guys. I'm so privileged to be with this community and you guys. So thanks.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's addictive. I've been streaming the hell out of YouTube, and it's crazy.
Yeah,
I can't get enough
so
of
much
it.
Fun.
It's been an amazing few weeks. So yes, once again, guys, thanks for watching. Henry, do you want to just quickly plug your channel because
Okay, so if you guys want to check out my channel is Henry Robotic on YouTube. I do leaks on drones, cameras, GoPros, DJI. I'll do videos, reviews of DJI products, GoPro products, basically anything having to do with technology, drones, or cameras. So yeah, check me out on YouTube. I'm Henry Robotic, and thank you guys for having me on.
You're welcome.
Always a pleasure, man.
Billy, not that many people know who you are, but would you like to plug your
Yeah, my name is Billy Kyle, and I post drone reviews and teach people how to use them. That's me. Hey, I tried to branch away from drones and do other stuff, but that's what I love to do. So I've pretty much just been focusing on that recently.
You're never going to escape the drones. You're never going to escape the drones.
Billy, we are
so much fun.
Billy, we need to find a way to like bring in the rest of the world into the drone community, because
I know, right?
Get the everyday dudes out there and dudessies, whatever.
Well, what I find is that like everybody would be like, yeah, drones are cool, but not a lot of people have them. Like I feel like everybody knows of drones. They think they're badass. You see somebody flying and like, oh man, that's so cool. I've never had like maybe like the occasional Karen who will get upset at me.
Yeah, me too.
We've all had an experience with that.
Everybody really likes drones, but I think that the people that make up the drone community are like the hardcore guys that fly every single day. But there's still lots of people out there that own drones that just don't, watch videos on them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, tap the market. That's the market to be tapped, Billy. That's what's going to get you to the million.
We got to figure out how to pull them in.
We'll work on that on the side.
At this point, you've captivated the entire drone community, so it's about growing the drone community itself rather than
Nah, there's a way. There's a way to. Huh?
John makes a good point, giving the gift of drones. I mean, I just recently I had my dad fly a drone for the first time, and just seeing like his smile on his face was like priceless. Awesome. It was great. Yeah, so awesome.
I want my dad to fly mine. He's like 82. I wanted to see him fly the FPV drone in a wide
put the goggles on.
Hey, that's a cool video.
Blow his mind.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's a cool video idea.
Actually, it'll take the guy out.
Right,
a little warmer. All right, I'm sorry. I got blabbed.
We could be here for another few hours, but I'm gonna hit the outro button. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.
Later.
Nope.